Roberts.
Thank you. As a servant to the many varied people who make up our one Queensland community, tonight I address continuing misinformation around the World Health Organisation pandemic agreement and associated changes to the WHO rulebook, the International Health Regulations. This information is current as at the 28th of November 2023, today. As the Chamber is aware, the World Health Organisation has proposed a treaty that would make the WHO the World Health Police. The original proposal gave the WHO power to tell Australia how to handle the next pandemic, including the power to mandate forced vaccinations, lockdowns, business closures and even forced medical procedures. As hard as it is to believe, Australia actively promoted these measures at the inception. The WHO Secretary-General is Tedros Ghebreyesus, a former terrorist who led the Tigray Liberation Front. While Health Minister of Ethiopia, Ghebreyesus held back donated medical aid, held it back from areas of the country that did not support the Tigray Liberation Front, causing a serious cholera epidemic that killed thousands of people. He's got blood in his hands, this bastard. Under his leadership, the WHO were found to have looked the other way, while 83 of his staff committed crimes against women in the Congo, including rape, assault and forced abortion. The investigators who worked for the WHO declared because these people were not punished, the WHO was, in their words, rotten with rapists.
Just one moment, Senator McCarthy.
Just to draw to your attention, just the use of the language by Senator Roberts.
Senator Roberts, if you could please moderate your language, that would be much appreciated.
Certainly. I can report that a small number of these workers have been fired in the last few months, a small concession that confirms the accuracy of the allegations. This is the man Australia supports as Director-General of an organisation that Australia considers worthy to rule over our health response to the next virus. It's because people like Ghebreyesus can hold such powerful positions that One Nation has been calling for Australia to exit the United Nations, Auxit. Corporate donors who own WHO, including vaccine salesman Bill Gates. The World Health Organisation declare pandemics and then recommend mass vaccination. The vaccines WHO recommend are the vaccines from WHO's donors. WHO is not running a health organisation, it is running a racketeering team. They should never be trusted to declare a pandemic and certainly never be trusted to recommend vaccines or dictate Australia's medical, social or political policy. Next, I will talk about the deadline for signing off on changes to the WHO rulebook, the International Health Regulations. Social media is saying this week is the deadline for opting out. This is false. The proposed changes to the International Health Regulations will be voted at the same time as the pandemic agreement in May of 2024. That timeline has been the same all year. The November deadline many people contact my office about is for an entirely unrelated matter. Small changes made to the International Health Regulations in May of 2022 and which come into effect this week. Australia considered and ratified those changes in August after consideration through the Joint Standing Committee on Treaties, JSCOT. Their report was approved in both houses of vote on both houses of Parliament. This is the only way a new treaty or international health regulation change can be brought into law. This means Australia has not ratified the proposed changes to the International Health Regulations, and we have not ratified the Pandemic Treaty. On a similar matter, the original Pandemic Treaty included a provision to come into effect the moment Australia signs the document in Geneva. That provision was contrary to international law and has now been replaced with an explicit statement the treaty will not apply until Australia ratifies according to our law. We have until March 2025 for both houses of Parliament to vote on the changes. Now, it's true that One Nation has no confidence that this Parliament will stand up to the WHO and refuse to sign a bad treaty. Previous governments and parliaments have rushed to embrace globalist control, and this Parliament seems worse than most. So it's essential the treaty be defeated at the source, Geneva. That campaign has been raging all year and has caused the World Health Organisation to blink and water down the treaty enormously. Well done to everyone who has taken the fight to the WHO. The battle is far from over, so please maintain the rage. The latest discussion draft, released on October 16th this year, is a major reduction in scope and application, a major reduction. Even the name has been busted down to an agreement. And I thank everyone who's put pressure on the World Health Organization. I asked social media to use the latest version titled WHO Pandemic Agreement, 16th of October 2023. This new document is only 28 pages, and all the provisions that have caused international outrage have been removed. Powers of compulsion are gone, and in their place are frequent confirmations of national sovereignty. The Statement of Human Rights is back in. The bribes for African nations that would have cost Australia billions of dollars for our share have been removed. Mentioned in this document is the UN's nefarious One Health, which has been spreading through Western nations like a cancer without enabling legislation for years. One Health is a religion amongst globalist health bureaucrats and university academics who think so little of Australia and so little of themselves they feel the need to hide behind Big Daddy Ghebreyesus. These pathetic human beings will be the subject of a speech very shortly. Those following along at home can open a browser and search on One Health in Australia to see what I mean and check for yourself. I'll be clear. I'm not calling this document a win, since the WHO are a criminal organisation working for predatory, parasitic billionaires who I would not trust to treat a headache. We must maintain the rage all the way through to May next year to ensure these unscrupulous bureaucrats do not think they will get away with sneaking compulsion back in. Another piece of misinformation I've seen everywhere lately is the claim 193 members of the United Nations have approved the pandemic treaty. This is false. What happened is the WHO, unable to get the numbers amongst their members to pass the treaty, asked the United Nations to help. The United Nations then convened a conference of parties to discuss a pandemic treaty and after 2 days failed to reach an agreement. After the meeting was concluded and delegates had gone home, the conference chair released a political statement that claimed the UN had approved a pandemic treaty. Immediately, 13 nations publicly declared this was false and no agreement was reached. This was a deceitful communique, a lie from a desperate United Nations repeated in a video from a desperate Ghebreyesus. My staff team has rightly spent a huge amount of time dealing with public concern on this topic. At every step, my team has been correct and I thank them for their hard work. And I celebrate with everyone pushing back successfully to expose the World Health Organization and to awaken people globally. As the first Australian Member of Parliament to raise this United Nations World Health Organization threat back in April 2022, I hope this matter can progress with more clarity and less misinformation.